So Kourosh, man, he's a busy man, a man down at Ronnie Scott's with the London Django Collective. That's incredible, man.
That was super fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of them was a Django Reinhardt CD. I didn't know who he was. I just saw that picture where he's like got a cig in his mouth and he's got a little mustache.
Looking
It's
pretty
just,
cool.
Just doing that.
Yeah.
It's like, that looks pretty cool. So I just put it on and it was minor swing. Like, I was like, oh man. I think the breakthrough was when with Stockel Rosenberg, and I just learned every note that he'd recorded.
Yeah.
I learned it. And I'm not kidding. Knew all the solos.
Yeah, okay.
In case you were going to try and stand me up and make me play all of them.
Okay, let me find this out here. Thank you. Wicked. Nice one.
Excellent.
What are we going to start with, Lance? What do you fancy?
Tune.
Yeah.
It's like every gig ever. I just don't know.
One day there'll be a
Don't
gig
know
where
what
I
to
come
choose.
with, I think they call them a set list.
Oh yeah.
I've read about them, you know what I mean? How about a bit of, let's do the old... Yeah, cool.
Nice.
Nice one. Hey, that was great. Check it out. Applause. That doesn't usually happen. What's going on? Kourosh Kanani, how you doing, man?
Good, very good.
Excellent.
Thanks for having me down.
Thanks for coming down. It's really nice
Pleasure.
to have you. And the mighty Elezear Octavia on the bass. How you doing? You good?
I'm alright, you?
I'm all right. I did a gig with you on Saturday, and he was like, "Oh, how's that podcast thing that you do? Are you still doing that?" I'm like, "Yeah, still going. In fact, do you want to do it on Wednesday?" He's like, "Oh, Scott." So there you go. Thanks for coming down, lads.
Excellent.
So Kourosh, man, he's a busy man, a man in demand, man down at Ronnie Scott's with the London Django Collective. That's incredible, man.
That was super fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably the first proper Gypsy Jazz gig at Ronnie Scott's. I know Borelli's played there, but he did more as like jazz fusion thing, right?
I guess out of I saw him there once. He was just doing a kind of normal Gypsy Jazz thing.
Oh, really? Okay.
Years ago. But I guess it's the first Gypsy Jazz thing where, you know, they've taken just some guys from a scene in a city.
Yeah.
And like they do with all the other sort of jazz musicians in London, but Gypsy Jazz is this like sort of, you know, side
it's like
mark
separate thing.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it was great that they decided to put that on and make it a main show and everything.
Well, the thing is, I think in jazz, there's still a lot of people who don't know much about Gypsy Jazz see it as like this kind of pretty lame trad jazz thing. And so there's a lot of like jazz venues that wouldn't really think about having Gypsy Jazz on.
Yeah.
So it's really cool that like the #1 jazz place in the country is now putting on Gypsy Jazz. And okay, granted, you're all very proficient in a much more modern language of Gypsy Jazz. It's not the most traddy thing, that's fair to say, I guess, right?
Yeah.
It's still very rooted in Gypsy Jazz. But it's cool. I think it's good that Gypsy Jazz breaking into like the jazz world. Do you know what I mean?
It's good, and at the end of the day, it's just playing notes over chord changes.
Yeah,
so
it's
it's
true.
like
There's like lots and lots of notes.
lots and lots of notes.
As many as you can fit
over
in.
maybe not quite as many chord changes, but
Yeah.
same thing.
That's amazing. And it sold out, didn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Are they going to have you back?
Who knows? Probably, maybe not anytime soon, because I can't imagine that's going to happen again anytime soon. But
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
at some point, but it's just nice to have at least done that for
Incredible. Yeah.
something, just a scene of guys who like playing Gypsy Jazz in London.
Yeah.
It's just that for that
Amazing.
reason it's super nice, and kudos to Harry for sort of putting his foot in and getting it down.
Yeah, man.
It's great.
Amazing. And like, what about? Because you guys did like the first sort of album in those little volumes, right? And that was like before the pandemic, right?
That was just before, yeah.
Just
it was
before, and-
2009, summer 2019.
And I'm guessing any plan for another one was perhaps scuppered by the pandemic. Is there anything in the pipeline with you guys?
Yeah, we're recording on the 14th of December.
Oh, cool. Oh, brilliant.
Recording the new volume 2.
And so is it volume 2, and then in volume 2 it's all the little 2 compositions each thing again, or?
I think this is actually just one composition each.
Okay.
Is it?
Because there's a lot of you. Like 2
I don't
is like
know.
a long album if you did 2 each, right?
I mean, that's why it wasn't an album last time. It was more just like a drip
Okay.
feed of everyone's feature
Right.
kind of thing. I think this time it's maybe going to be an album. Is it just one tune each? I'm pretty sure it is.
If you're recording in a few weeks, then you should
It
find
is
that
just
out.
it is one tune each. Sorry, the gig we did 2 tunes each. The album's just going to be one each.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant.
From recording it, I should probably definitely find that one out.
Yeah, man. And like, and so you're gonna record it all in one like a day or a weekend or something, and then or are you gonna do it in dribs and drabs?
I think
I should
it's-
get someone else in this podcast.
You
yeah.
should have just got Matt or Harry, 'cause they're actually in charge of that band. They know what's going. I think we're doing it, as far as I know, I think we're doing it in 2 days.
Yeah.
I think we're doing the 14th and 15th. But Harry, Matt, if you're watching, I'm sorry.
Send him a text now. It's fine with cousin. It's. Oh, that's really exciting, man. And like,
It'd be nice,
are you doing like any other projects at the minute, or is that the main thing taking up?
In terms of Gypsy Jazz, that's
Oh yeah, of
the
course.
only thing.
Asian. Your new album.
Aysan.
Aysan. Sorry,
Yeah.
Aysan.
No,
yeah.
that's fine. Yeah, that's the other thing. So there's 3 main things at the minute. Matt Holborn has a new project he's working on. It's all his own music, and it's hard to describe what it is really.
Is that the thing you did at Hull?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
it's just Matt's own music, and it's just very sort of, I don't know how I would describe it. It's just sort of beautiful, kind of cinematic, world jazz. Yeah, I don't know.
What's the
It's difficult.
instrumentation of it like?
That's just drums, bass, piano, and guitar.
Wow, nice.
All quite sort of acoustic sounding
Yeah.
vibes. And then there's my trio, which Aysan, that's the album that
Aysan,
just came
right,
out,
yeah.
which is with Matt Davis on drums and Dave O'Brien on bass, and that's just all my own stuff, my own compositions.
Yeah, that's a really cool record, man. I was listening
Thanks.
to it when it came out here, actually, and I was like, lads, check it out. It's you on a Telecaster, drums, bass. It's it sounds quite proggy to me. It's almost like prog rock in a way.
There are
like
definitely elements of it which I would agree with
time
you.
signatures and that kind of thing.
Yeah, because it's sort of a lot of the language in it comes from like Persian classical music, Persian folk music.
Right.
I wouldn't say it's anything of like authentic Persian classical music. It's not.
But it's informed the compositions to some extent.
Yeah, and then there's the rhythmical aspect of it is just things that I've been studying intensely with South Indian music, studying the rhythm structures of that kind of music.
Because you went to India with Matt, right?
We went to India together. We went. It was Matt's idea. We went to study like northern Indian classical music.
Okay.
With a teacher up there, a guy who plays the sarod.
What's a sarod?
It's like you hold it like a guitar.
He didn't teach you very well. He's like, what is a sarod?
We weren't learning sarod. We were learning like the basis of northern Indian classical music.
Okay. Like the theory-ish. Is that?
If you want to call it that, yeah, I guess the theory. It was like we play a raga basically.
Okay.
How to play one raga we were going to learn over there.
Right.
And the sarod is like an instrument with no frets. It's like a big, like steel fretboard, big shiny steel fretboard, and it's all used with glides, you know, and it's all about sort of measurement of your hand and playing the raga on this instrument. And I think when I first ever heard it, I was like, it's essentially like an Indian. You could almost think it sounds like an Indian banjo. If you were going to like try and create a sound in your head, if you've never heard the sarod before, it has this kind of very open metally sound, almost like a
resonator guitar.
Like a resonator,
yeah.
Except the notes are just like they're just so open and just last a long time.
Yeah.
And it's it does have a distinctly different sound though. But to someone who's like never heard the sarod before, that's what I would say.
And so you and Matt go over to India and you get in contact with this guy, and you spent a while learning stuff, and you say that's definitely influenced the album you did with the telly. Does that seep into your Gypsy Jazz as well? Do you take some of those ideas, or is that maybe a bridge too far? Is it kind of hard to get it in?
No, I mean, in terms of like making anything sound Indian, I'm not doing that in Gypsy Jazz or anything, but in terms of South Indian music, a lot of the rhythm structures, which I've been learning, is using different toplets, meaning like per beat you're going to put a different amount of microbeats per beat. So instead of going like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, you're going to maybe have 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, or 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 9.
Wow.
And just sort of cramming in this and playing around with that and making phrases out of those numbers instead. That's the only way, but with Gypsy Jazz it's really hard to do that.
Well, I was going to say, like, you're improvising, like, it must be hard. But like, I saw a video of you. You wrote a piece over a guy who was vocalizing those rhythmic sounds. It's on YouTube somewhere.
Oh yeah, that guy is who I've been studying.
That's the guy you met in.
No, he's different. It's totally two different people, two different styles of Indian classical music. Okay. So there's a northern.
I don't know anything about Indian classical music.
It's cool, man.
As is apparent, the more this conversation goes on.
Don't worry about it. I mean, I didn't when I went over there either.
Yeah.
But there's a northern Indian and there's a southern Indian, and the northern Indian's more maybe what we'd be used to hearing is, you have a drone sound in the background, and you'll probably have a sitar, and there'll be a vocalist, and there'll be tabla. Yeah. South Indian music, it's much more like rhythmically aggressive, and it's sort of a lot more sort of aggressive in energy in that way. And you'll still have vocalists, but you'll have violins, and you'll have a drum called the mridangam, which is like, it's this drum that has two sides, and you hold it on your lap, and it's like a really big, like deep, meaty sound, and various other things depending. But
amazing.
The guy who was on that video, he did like a online course during the pandemic, which I took part in, and then later on I was so obsessed with it, I wanted to continue. So I asked him if he could do private lessons, and he's been teaching me ever since, and since then he's just become a good friend, and we just chat about, geek out about stuff.
Yeah, man. That's
and all
incredible.
that kind of thing.
That's so cool. And so he's teaching that rhythmic thing, and
He's teaching me in the form of conical, which is that takadimida kind of thing.
that vocalized.
It's the vocal expression of the mridangam. That's
and
what
there's like
conical is.
syllables put in because that's the syllables that will fit a 9 into one beat. Or
It's actually more simple than that. It's like it's mimicking the mridangam.
yeah.
It's mimicking what sounds come from it.
Okay.
So if they go like dum, that's literally they'll say dum.
Oh
and they'll
really?
have da, and it's like that's da.
It's like
So
onomatopoeia. It's like
Yeah.
exactly that. Wow.
so conical is merely a byproduct of the mridangam drum
Wow.
and tabla as well.
It's like vocalese but for drum solos.
Yeah. And this is what they use to teach students, like people like me who don't play a drum, for example. It's
Yeah.
perfect and I'm awful at reading music. I can't.
Yeah, I
read
don't read,
any
yeah.
notation.
I barely read words. Let alone oh, steady on.
Oh, this is.
Oh, hey up, hey up.
I thought it was one of those swivel chairs that.
Oh
like,
yeah, sorry,
goes
that's got a
back.
leg missing.
It's
that
actually
chair.
just broken.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
Oh, look at that! There's a whole leg missing.
Oh no.
That could have been so bad.
Carry on.
But yeah, so I've just been learning that for the past year and a half now, I
Amazing.
guess.
That's
And
really
it's
cool.
like with this album with Aysan, it's great because it's been like a drip feed into the music I've been writing. So
Yeah,
what
yeah.
I've been learning from the stuff with Indian classical music and just stuff I'm influenced by as well. It's just learn it, obsess about it, and try and internalize it in my own way and put it out into something that comes out.
And
but
that's
hopefully naturally and never forced.
yeah, and that's what came out in this new
That's
record.
this album, and it's nice to hear because this album's like an up-to-date representation of sort of, I guess, where I'm at with all this stuff, and I'm always going deeper and deeper into this rhythm thing,
Brilliant.
and see what it comes out of it next.
Wicked, man. Well, let's play another tune.
Let's do it.
Sol, could you get me a drink, please? Could I have a bottle of Budweiser, please? Thank you, Sol. Anyone? You?
I'm alright.
Covered.
Can we play? The Days of Wine and Roses?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Days of Wine and Roses in F.
It's okay for me to clap and stuff, isn't it?
You what, sorry?
Would you rather me not clap or clapping's alright? Cheering? Or not?
Oh, well, clap if it's good, but if it's crap, then boo and hiss. And,
Yeah, if it's
and
shit,
throw
just
stuff.
throw a bottle of beer at us.
Cool. Yeah, nice. Good job. Good job. Good job. You forgot to do the booing and hissing after my solo. So way off the ball there. Are all them cameras looking good? Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. So here's another thing, right? When I hear you play guitar, as I'm doing very closely now, you hit the strings like to my ear. It feels like quite hard.
Yeah.
It's the notes are almost like snapping off the guitar. They go like that. And what's fun as well is on the record when you're on the telly, it's kind of the same. You're hitting that just as hard. I don't know if you change how you play on the telly, but like for me, if I'm playing this, but then if I'm the telly, you kind of just.
I try to play softer on these guitars. I've always been quite conscious that I do hit very hard, but I
mean, it sounds good.
To dig in really deep. But sometimes I've listened back to myself and said, oh, it actually sounds a little bit twangy. So I've tried, but I don't want to ever lose the attack, because I do like playing with attack.
Yeah.
Not all the time, obviously.
I mean, it does lend itself to these instruments in this style, right?
Definitely. But it's more just a lot of the time playing in loud settings and stuff. You just want to make something come out. But with the telly, I use the exact same technique. I don't change anything. I just have to. I guess there's a lot more hammer-ons and pull-offs going on when I'm playing the telly.
Sure. Is the action similar?
Yeah, it's actually quite similar. Probably a little bit easier.
Like a higher, because I mean, tellies are kind of fairly low. Well, depends who's playing them.
Yeah, it depends. I'd say mine's pretty much in the middle. It's definitely not too easy to play, but it's not. You don't pick it up and it's like, oh, this is difficult.
Yeah,
It feels like an electric guitar.
Yeah.
But I use 11s on it, so it's set up for 11, so it's kind of midway. Because anything more, you get tuning problems and all this kind of thing. But I use the exact same technique. I do have to soften up, because, with electric guitars and stuff, because even with my left hand, I had to think about what hand that was then. That was weird. I actually
just picks up the guitar one day like this. It's like, wait a second.
I'm not going to lean back on this chair ever again.
Do you want to just turn it round a bit? Like?
No, I'm just going to teach. Just learn the lesson.
Okay, just correct posture.
But even with my left hand, I press very hard because I'm just quite a heavy-handed person.
Right.
But so it's good with the telly because I've had to really practice lightness on that, and it's good because you learn that even if you play lightly, a sound comes out.
Yeah.
And it sounds stupidly simple to say that, but sometimes you forget that it's like with different kinds of guitars, different music, you can play softly, and it's like a holiday sometimes. It's like, I don't have to try so hard.
Totally. Well, I mean, I think with these guitars, I think to get them the sweet spot, it kind of demands a lot of you. You've got to hit it a bit more aggressively than like most people would hit a guitar in other genres. Whereas some other guitars, like if you hit it that hard, you've just killed it. The sweet spot was way somewhere else, and you've got to kind of adjust to different instruments. And also, like with a telly, again, compared to these, like they're really nice guitars. Pickups and an amplifier, they actually do a lot of the job for you. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying they're necessarily easier to play, but when you're so used to playing these all the time, then you play an electric, you're like, wow, it's like taking off on its own. Almost,
Yeah. Like, and there's just room you can play notes that will just have lots of sustain on them, and you can hang out on a note for a bit and hang out on a chord for a bit without needing that urgent need to change all the time.
Yeah, it's almost like a different instrument in a way,
In a sense, yeah. It's definitely a different feel. But I love playing the Telecaster so much, or just electric guitars in general, because I've always been an acoustic player.
Right.
So I'm still finding the sound of that.
Yeah, that's another thing. So like, because most guitar players I know most Gypsy Jazz players I know, started out as like rock and blues and pop and whatever, and then found Gypsy Jazz in their like maybe late teens. Was that you as well?
I was that, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so you were playing rock and stuff beforehand.
Yeah, like before that I was playing, I don't know, before that. Finger picking stuff came a bit later. Before that I was playing Jimmy Page guitar, just Led Zeppelin and Yes and prog bands and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But then because of Steve Howe from Yes, the guitarist, I discovered finger picking, like Merle Travis and that kind of thing. You know? And I got into just like boom, boom, chip, all that kind of stuff.
Brilliant.
And I did that for years, and then through that I found Django.
That's cool. Did you ever meet Geary much? You know Geary Allen? Geary was like, he's quite a young fella, he's only 22, but I think he's moved up to Canterbury, but he was in London for a few years doing uni, and so his dad's American, and he's a really good like bluegrass guy, and they've got like a big family, lots of kids, and they've got like a family band playing bluegrass and stuff. But Geary was getting into gypsy jazz when he was here, and he was a really good player, and he had a phenomenal writing technique. But he come down, at first he kind of liked the tunes in G and C, and he kind of played bluegrass licks. But then slowly he was getting more Django licks in it. But then I was like, go on and plays a bit of bluegrass, and he played all that stuff like really well. But I'm surprised you never bumped into him.
Never.
Like, no, yeah.
At least I don't think so. I'm really sorry if you're watching. I don't remember.
Yeah, man. And then of course, there's a weird kind of crossover with gypsy jazz and like the country picker guys. It sounds a bit weird, but I think it's born out of just an admiration that they have of Django. And so like if you look at all these records behind me, right? Weirdly, a lot of the country players, you'll find like Manoir Demirev's will be on one of their albums, or some the odd really obscure Django tune will be on there.
Yeah.
So there's a kind of weird country gypsy jazz crossover.
Gary Potter comes from the same thing.
Oh, it's true,
We did me and Matt and Dave O'Brien did a small tour in the north of England with Gary Potter.
Right.
And he still actively plays that stuff. He sometimes brings it out on gigs.
Yeah.
And just on one gig we played that tune. I was playing the Cannonball Rag at school.
Rag,
Yeah. We did that together, and it's just like there's more. I don't know. There's more people who either not necessarily play it but know about it and appreciate it, the kind of thing. And it does. You're right. You get these same people who enjoy playing gypsy jazz, and the gypsy jazz players who enjoy playing the fingerstyle stuff as well. It seems to, for some reason, mix in. I don't know any jazz guitarists, to my knowledge, that who are playing straight ahead who do that.
I don't think it's only country guitar players. It's like there's a lot of jazz guitar players that have a big admiration for Django in general.
Oh yeah, but I mean that makes more sense to me, like because they're roughly batting on the same team. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but there is a lot of crossovers over there, like country guitarists that they are jazz players as well, or they play a lot of standards.
Yeah. No.
I didn't say that they know the style. They play the actual style.
Totally. And I think as well, because you mentioned Merle Travis, obviously Chet Atkins and stuff. I think there's just a general like appreciation of guitar players of any genre.
Yeah.
Like they're the greats. You know what I mean? And even if you're like a metal shredder, you can appreciate Chet Atkins or Django.
Yeah.
Or
what was the name of the guitar player that we played with you?
Clive Carroll.
Yeah.
I mean, Clive Carroll is just. If you just like the guitar as an instrument, you just have to listen to this guy. If you just like the guitar, just honestly, every note that guy plays is just.
What kind of the name kind of rings a bell, but I don't know who this is.
And I guess he's I don't want to put anything into one bracket, but just for the sake of conversation, I'll say he's a folk guitarist.
Okay.
But he does, his music goes so much deeper than that. Because his knowledge of music is just so vast, and going from like medieval music up to later folk music and blues and jazz as well and everything.
Britney Spears, everything.
Britney Spears, Spice Girls, like definitely One Direction as well. But I think that's his favourite band actually.
Oh, well, essential stuff. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Essential listening.
And so that as well, and then, but it's. His technique is flawless, his feel is just ridiculous, his compositions are amazing, and just the depth he brings you down, I don't say down, the depth he brings you up to.
Yeah, right.
People say bring you down, it's like, no, it just brings you up.
Yeah, man.
But Clive Carroll, man, just listen
out.
to anything, and it's phenomenal.
So just to go back then, you're playing Jimmy Page and this kind of stuff, and you got into Django through the country stuff. So like, when did you discover Django then, and how did you go about learning it? Like,
it was like an exact day. I remember my brother's a musician too, plays guitar.
Yeah. He's Bert Jansch kind of
Bert
stuff.
Jansch, and that's what he's doing right now. That's his like forte in writing compositions too. But he came home one day with a bunch of CDs back when we used to like go out and buy CDs in HMV and bring them back and listen to them. One of them was a Django Reinhardt CD. And I didn't know who he was. I just saw that picture where he's like got a cig in his mouth and he's got a little mustache.
Looking
he's
pretty cool.
He's just doing that.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that looks pretty cool. So I just put it on and it was Minor Swing, like the recording, the one that we all know.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, blah blah blah. And through that, then it was like I found the Rosenberg Trio,
Yeah.
And I didn't touch the music for ages. I was 15 when I first heard it. I didn't even touch it until I was about 17.
Right.
Didn't do anything with it because I was just intimidated by it. I thought, I don't know.
Too hard to get into.
Too hard to get into. I didn't want to go back to using a pick because I'd been using just my fingers the whole time.
Okay.
And I was like, I'll just leave it. But then I was just so obsessed with it that I just picked around with it and just played stuff. I didn't have a Gypsy Jazz guitar back then. And just tried to follow recordings, just little simple stuff. And just looked at little lessons, looked at things, looked at what people were doing. Josko Stefan was some guy I saw ages ago. And he said to me, you know, it's all just mainly arpeggios. So I was like, what is an arpeggio? Tell me what an arpeggio is and I will learn it. And so I learned arpeggios of stuff and just A minor arpeggios, as simple as that. And just went around, not even that, just things like that, going around recordings and just what I could pick out.
Brilliant.
And it just progressed from there and I just learned. And then I think the breakthrough was with Stockel Rosenberg.
Right.
And I just learned every note that he'd recorded.
Yeah.
I learnt it. And I'm not kidding.
Wow.
Every single note that he recorded.
And that is a lot of notes as well.
That is a lot of notes. I learnt every solo of every record of Stockel Rosenberg.
Wow.
And then that for me was like a big treasure chest I gave myself.
Yeah.
And it was the basis of like everything I played.
Yeah.
And it sort of still is, because everything I play on the guitar, even though after years of playing and years of experience and years of learning, you get branches that grow out of this tree, right?
Yeah.
Was the Stockel Rosenberg. But I still see the position at hand. It's like
Yeah.
I'm doing so many things now on the guitar that are different to what I was used to. But I can somehow still see
That's the kind of
the
base
core,
that
and that has branched out from all these things I've learned from Stockel.
That's amazing.
And Django obviously as well, but there was
Yeah.
something about Stockel I was just like, oh my god, what's that?
I gotta say, like, Stochelo, like, in terms of shaping the genre, like, Stochelo's massive. And, like, I know people who would say Stochelo's just as important as Django. Because if you think about, Django Reinhardt was a guy who did Hot Club for a while and then did kind of essentially more jazz setups of drums and pianos, like, most of his career, really. But Stochelo, I think, was the guy that really solidified the guitar trio, Hot Club, this is what Gypsy Jazz is for a lot of people. And also, I think Stochelo was one of the guys that really made it a lot more about virtuosity. So, like, and I'm, you know, in Django solos, you can get a long way through before there's, like, a super fast bit. It's just really nice phrasing, beautiful playing. Whereas Stochelo can do, and you know all the solos, can do, like, start to finish, like...
Knew all the solos.
Yeah, okay.
In case you're going to try and stand me up and maybe play all of them.
Okay, let me find this out here. 38 seconds on this track.
You're saying that there's a joke, but that was the extent to how I knew them. I was like, I just knew the second and everything on the CD of where this note was and stuff.
That's amazing.
It was ridiculous.
That's
Had a lot of free time back then.
Yeah, but like for me, I think Stochelo, like I say, so when I discovered Django, I think Stochelo was one of the first, if not the first band name after him, after Django, that I discovered. And like, I don't know, for me, kind of solidifies the genre almost. Do you know what I mean?
He's got that sound, right, that I think, I don't know, it's like...
Where would you put Birelli then?
Well, Birelli, because I mean, like, obviously when he was young...
Or Jimmy Rosenberg.
Well, all I'd say is, like, Jimmy comes a little bit after Stochelo.
Yeah, no, obviously, yeah.
And Birelli maybe a little bit before in terms of, like, gigging and stuff. You see him as a little boy, right, in the late 70s. But I just think, like...
Soloing on double bass as well.
Yeah. But I think in terms of, like, making albums and just sort of impact on the scene. Because I think by the time... So Seresta comes out in, like, 89 or something?
89, yeah.
89. At that point, I think Birelli had already kind of started doing, like, jazz fusion stuff, you know? And, like, by the time he was, like, early 20s, he kind of... So he hadn't pushed the genre, made it kind of super famous by the time he went off. And then, of course, he comes back in 2003 with the Gypsy Project, and that was massive. And we know him as a Gypsy Jazz player more for that stuff, I think. Whereas I think, because like the Gypsy Bossa, you know, Forcefora and all things like that wasn't around when Django was here. But, like, that kind of...
It was with Dorado. Dorado Schmidt, for example.
Couldn't possibly say where that stuff came from. The Gypsy Bossa thing. I don't know where the genesis
so that might not have been
was.
a Rosenberg thing then.
It's hard to say. I mean, it's because the rhythm is what they would call a rumba in flamenco music.
Yeah.
It's not a bossa,
Yeah.
but it is that in Gypsy. I don't know
Yeah.
where it's come from. I'd never looked into that, like where the genesis of that was.
But yeah,
Happened sometime around the 90s. I feel.
now that I think about it, you're right, because the two big ones are Força Four and Bossa Dorado.
Yeah.
They're the two that everybody kind of knows.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wonder which one kind of came. Because I'm sure the first recording of Bossa Dorado is like very much not what you'd expect. It's like drums and piano, and it's kind of...
Is it?
Yeah, it's a really different thing. It's not like kind of like hot club playing a Latin. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I thought it was an older record because that era of Dorado is like a later one, like when he started to try
Yeah.
playing with drums actually,
Yeah.
electric guitar.
See, I don't know Dorado's like early recordings that well.
Yeah.
I know there's one called like Parisian, which is just like a straight ahead
Yeah,
jazz record. It's like shredded like crazy
yeah.
on an arch top.
Yeah.
And then I know all the kind of family records
Yeah.
later on, right? But I don't know like his early output.
You're wanted.
Oh, this one. Well, that's my one, so that's fine.
Have you seen that? My favourite video in the whole world of Dorado Schmidt is, you must have seen it. It's in Samoa in 1994.
And he's fucking ripped.
He's
and the sleeves of
ripped.
shirt.
His, his muscles are just like
Yeah.
tree trunks,
I
and
know
he's got
exactly
some,
what you
and he's
mean.
just playing the dark eye solo.
Yeah.
But on this like you know it.
Yeah.
But on the arch top, and the sound on the arch top, just like it's about as big as his muscles.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just like I love that video. That's so cool.
It's so because again, like for kind of our generation, I always see Dorado as like this kind of old gentleman, but I never saw him as like the ripped, young, tough motherfucker shredding like a
Man,
beast on guitar.
I would not want to say the wrong thing to that guy at that moment. In general, to be honest with you, but
Yeah,
especially
yeah.
on that gig.
He's actually one of my favourite Gypsy Jazz players, like in terms of his style and his improvising. He's maybe one or two or three, you know what I mean?
Mm.
I was very lucky to play with him long ago,
Really?
and that was like fast
Was that
school.
the cucumber?
Yeah,
Man.
long ago, and that was incredible. The sound of that guy, man, is just out of this world.
Yeah, he's so good, man. And he writes such nice tunes.
Yes.
Like little simple tunes, which
He
is
don't
really
remember all of them,
potent.
though.
Huh?
Yeah.
He doesn't remember all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. He once kissed me, not this, just right there.
Oh, really?
Just like got my head. It was just like
You've never washed that bit of your face since.
it's like. Ugh.
It's a French thing.
I know. Yeah. Thanks.
All right, let's play a tune, man. What should we play? Any requests, chaps?
Let's play. Dunno.
No, it's cool. Don't worry. So don't worry, it's cool. But take a couple of pictures if you want. That'll be handy enough for the gram. Yeah, whatever, man. Let's play a ballad. We haven't played a ballad yet.
All right. Let's play a ballad. Let's play.
I don't think we've ever done that on the podcast.
We can do that. I was
Yeah.
thinking maybe something that's tiny bit shorter. Just in terms
Yeah,
of
cool.
length,
Yeah,
in terms of form.
whatever, man.
Django's Castle?
Something shorter in
Yeah, I was
terms
about
of
to
form.
say, yeah, I was about to
It's short, no?
What about the one that sounds like Django's Castle?
That's number 2.
Oh yeah, great. That's what. Sol, you want to play Dance Norvège? No, go on. You might as well use one of your favourite tunes. Go on. Then. Oh, you might as well play your guitar then. Go on. Be quick. I don't know how long we've been. I'm having a good time, but I don't know how long we've been playing.
Feels like about 35 minutes. To me.
35 minutes. That's quite precise.
Yeah.
That's what it feels.
No, sit down there, Sol. Right, Sol, you're the host of the podcast now, so you've got to do all the chat.
Well, let's just start playing quickly then.
With 3 guitars, no? That would be nice. Like a proper hot club. 3 guitars, like a proper hot club.
Oh, you guys do.
Nice.
Okay.
You need to cut this bit out. I've forgotten what tune we're playing. Sorry.
It just keeps getting higher and higher and
I
higher.
was just like, what tune are we playing? Sorry, because we went through 3 tunes. I'm really sorry. Okay.
You play Nuage, you play Django's Castle, I play not. Yeah.
You play a really fast blues.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's how it's gonna work. All right, sorry. That's bang on.
That is pretty bang on. So you're gonna have to like finish, wrap up the podcast now, Sol.
Yeah.
Yeah. You gotta wrap it up. You're the host, man. So take us out.
What should I say?
Just be like, oh, thanks for tuning into the podcast. Say that.
Please subscribe.
Yeah, like and subscribe.
I
yeah.
always forget that bit. So yeah.
Well, cheers.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
Yeah.
Click the like button beneath here, and make sure to subscribe and like,
There you
and we will like you and subscribe soon.
There you go.
That's all you gotta say.
Brilliant.
Just say thanks to the two.
Will do.
Come on. Okay.
All right. Nice.
Yeah. All right.
Wait, shall I do it or not?
Yeah, just do it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, that's today's podcast comes to a conclusion.
Look into that camera.
Oh, okay. That was off, isn't it? Yeah. Brilliant. Well, there's today's podcast done. Thanks, Kourosh and Yogs for coming along.
Thanks, Cornelius, man. It's great to chat.
Brilliant. Well, nice one.
Excellent.
Hooray! Well done, everyone.
Yeah, we did it. That's good. It's good. Mate, you did really well.
Nice one, mate. Thanks so much.
dude.
That's brilliant. Thanks so much.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
it's
brilliant.
pleasure. Imagine if you just crushed the guitar between us just then.
Robin's just like, nice one, mate. Great stuff. Great playing, man. Thanks so much.
Cheers.
All right.